Welcome back. Gordon Arthur Joseph Patrick Martin was a successful and colorful Newfoundland entrepreneur. In the 50s and 60s, he began a chain of restaurants that in St. John's became as familiar to that era as the local McDonald's restaurants are today. Gordon Martin's family will tell you he was self-confident, tireless, and full of ideas, especially when it came to making a dollar. His daughter, businesswoman Connie Hayward, remembers his first foray into the restaurant game.
He bought an old van, and he started selling chips, fish and chips, on the side of the road in an old van. And it was such a hit. I mean, people loved it.
People still make a living selling chips from vans in St. John's, but Gordon Martin was looking for something bigger and better. He wanted a restaurant. Thus began a chain of restaurants he would name for himself, Marty's. At one time, Gordon Martin owned 16 Marty's restaurants and snack bars in St. John's. 4 of them were here on Water Street. The very last Marty's was located at 301. It closed its doors in 1984, ending an enterprise that began in 1949. The first Marty's opened on Freshwater Road, where Leo's Fish and Chips now operates. Connie Hayward's older sister, Sandra Martin, remembers many a busy night at that first location.
Back in the 50s, you couldn't buy anything in the movies. You couldn't buy anything to eat, right? So, of course, as soon as the movies got out at 9 o'clock, I mean, the restaurant would fill up with people coming to. I can remember Freshwater Road store, we used to have a horseshoe bar starting out. And I mean, of course, all the seats would be full, and it would be, the whole floor would be full waiting for people, you know, to get up.
Well, in the snack bars, some were snack bars, some were restaurants, you actually had to do the cooking. You had to take the order, cook it, serve it, and collect the money. You did it all. And it was great. Loved it.
Gordon Martin did well by his restaurant properties, eventually leasing out many of them. He bought a house in Fort Lauderdale, where he and Mrs. Martin would escape the worst of Newfoundland's winters. Connie Hayward says her father also found time to operate a nightclub, pool hall, service station, lighting shop, and horse farm.
He was, as I said to you earlier, he was the quintessential entrepreneur. And he was full of ideas, and he was very optimistic person. So he would see something, he'd get an idea, and he'd run with it.
While Martin enjoyed the challenge of business ventures, he also enjoyed the benefits, like being able to purchase a particularly ostentatious Cadillac, a '54 yellow Coupe de Ville. Downtown Wags christened it the Chippealac.
He had the fenders extended another 2 feet, and then he had a Continental hook kit put on the back of it. I mean, it was, the people, I mean, you'd be driving down Water Street and you'd see all the eyes, you know.
And I can see Dad in my mind now walking down Water Street with his Stetson hat on, and of course everybody wore suits and ties, and he'd have a bag of money in each hand, because in every restaurant there was a jukebox, a cigarette machine, and he would, you know, collect and put them in the back of his big yellow car.
While some remember Gordon Martin's Stetson and his big yellow Cadillac, thousands more of us remember Marty's restaurants. We remember dashing in for a Coke and fries, a burger, a sandwich, or a fish and chips. For Connie Hayward, every Marty's restaurant was like home, a place where she was quite likely to be working side by side with her dad, sister, or other family member. Marty's will always occupy a special place in her memory, especially those details that get lodged and remain as fresh today as they did 40 years ago.
I used to have the big tomato juice cans, and you put your tips in, and at the end of the summer you take the top off, and the money would all be rusty. And it was just fun, you know. It was great, yeah. Enjoyed it.
Karl Wells, CBC News, St. John's.